basically we're back talking about the 8 pillars of trust. How are you going?
We are. I'm great. Thank you. We are back for episode 2 of our 3-part series on trust and how to build trust in our teams.
Yep.
And today we are unpacking 3 more of David Horsager's pillars of trust. So we should probably recap last episode.
Yes, let's.
So we were talking about the importance of trust in our teams and how many of the people we work with struggle particularly with that more vulnerable aspect of trust, not so much the getting tasks done aspect of trust, in terms of how to identify it and how to build it and, of course, how not to break it at the same time. And so we shared that we'd come across this framework from David Horsager called the 8 Pillars of Trust, and we like it because it's practical, it's common sense, and you can tackle just one at a time. It doesn't feel too big or too hard to identify.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think, so last time we talked about clarity and compassion.
Mm-hmm.
This episode, we're going to talk about character, competency, and commitment. And our next episode is going to look at the last 3, connection, contribution, and consistency. I just love that he's managed to find a C word.
Yes, the alliteration is perfection, really, isn't it?
Fantastic, isn't it? Yeah, no, they don't even seem that forced. So,
No. It probably took him 3 years to come up with C words for all of them.
Let's talk about character.
Yeah.
So
this is a good one.
It really is, isn't it? So this really is this idea that the people really look up to somebody and do trust somebody who does the hard stuff, who has integrity. Don't
Yes.
they? You know,
I think integrity is the right word.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As leaders, to build trust, what our team want to see is we do what we need to do, even if it's not necessarily fun or easy. We do what's right. They want that sense of, I guess it's a sense of justice, of fairness, of doing the right thing is what they want to see from us. And I suppose we want to see that from our team as well.
And I think what we all know is that, you know, if someone will do the wrong thing for us, they're just as likely to do the wrong thing to us.
Yes, great point.
So when we're looking at character, we trust people who do the right thing because we feel like if they're going to do the right thing, again, if they're going to do it for us, then they're probably going to do the right thing to us as well. And I think that's the really important thing, isn't it? That we know people whose character we don't trust is not somebody we can follow because we know at some point it's probably going to turn on us.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at character actually as a trust pillar. And I think I see this play out a lot when a manager or a leader is dealing with a performance management issue with one of their staff and they're not dealing with it because it's hard.
Yes.
And I remind them that actually their team are watching and their team are watching the fact that they're not dealing with this. And that is going to cause problems for them because that lack of action or not dealing with it or putting it in the too hard basket tells the team that you're not going to do the right thing, which, as you said, for them down the track might mean you won't do the right thing by them. Yeah.
And I think that is absolutely right. And I see that play out so often in the, you know, what we talk about sometimes, this idea that somebody does the wrong thing in a team and the leader doesn't want to have a conversation with them because that's a bit hard.
Mm-hmm.
So they get the whole team together and they talk about behaving well and respect and, you know, looking after one another. And everybody in the team knows it's about that one person, that it's not something they've done. So they're all, but they know that the leader is not brave enough to have that conversation.
Yep.
And so they know that this person really has permission to keep doing stuff.
Because we encourage what we tolerate. If we're tolerating behaviour, we are encouraging it to continue. And I think there's no quicker way really to break down trust with your team than for them to see you fail to take action, particularly when because the resentment builds because they're likely carrying the weight of this person not doing their job or dealing with the fallout of the customer complaints or whatever the scenario is. They're seeing it and it's impacting them, and your lack of dealing with it is what's really going to break down that trust and that relationship.
Totally. Yeah. So I think character it's one of those harder ones to get your hands around, I think. But I think it's a really important one.
I think the way you just explained that is perfect in terms of really getting to the core of what character's about. If you're going to do that to people or for people, you'll do that to them. So I think that's a great way to frame up character. It is a little bit more of a slippery one of the 8 pillars. It is one that you think, oh, how do we exactly identify that? But I think that's the perfect way to really look at what character is all about.
And we all know, when people are doing the wrong thing, we all know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've all had a boss that we didn't trust for that reason, haven't we? I mean, all think of a scenario where we'll just be, and people aren't willing to put up with that anymore.
No. And I think that's the wonderful thing about the workplace. Even in the last few years, people have become much more vocal.
Yes.
We have a generation coming through who are just saying, well, I'm not with that,
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas those of us who are older have probably put up with stuff for far longer.
Definitely true. What about competency? This is a no-brainer for me, yet probably something we don't focus on enough.
No, it's interesting, isn't it? I think often in leadership, we get so focused on the other aspects of leadership. The competency doesn't really get talked about, but it's really important.
Yeah.
You have to be seen as competent. And I think, when he talks about staying sort of fresh and relevant and capable, I think they're all really good words to describe competency. This idea that you're always open to learning, that you're smart enough to know what's going on, but you don't have to be the smartest person in the room.
Absolutely not. You don't have to be the subject matter expert or the smartest person in the room, but at whatever your role is, and certainly as a leader, you've got to be consistently making sure that you are up to speed and you're refining your skills and improving things. This actually reminds me of, I shared with you one of my children has been sick for a week and she's been binge watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, one of my favourites. And I don't know which season it is, but there's a sergeant involved who is totally incompetent, hilarious, but totally incompetent. And the team are constantly, mocking and making fun of and basically trying to compensate for his lack of competence. And he has zero self-awareness about it, which is often a challenge, but the team are very aware. And of course, they don't trust that he is going to do the right thing by them, the right thing by the business, all of those things. So we've got to continue to up-level ourselves and be open to learning in all the ways. It doesn't have to be formal training.
No, I agree. I think it is just being open to information wherever you're getting that from, and being able to bring that back to the team and talk about it. And being open to the team raising things as well. That idea that when they say, "What about this?" or "Why do we still do that?" Being able to embrace that and go, "Yeah, why do we? That's interesting." Or let's try things.
And you'll see this amongst your team as well. If some of your team are lacking in competence or haven't kept up with changes or, their skills are falling behind, you will see the rest of the team start to lack confidence in them as a peer. So you'll see this play out at all different levels, I think.
I agree, yes. And I think it's great to have people in the team bringing new ideas and new things to the team. But as a leader, you want to be at least part of that conversation. I think you want to definitely be bringing new ideas, whatever you need for your team function, but bringing things from outside that you're learning or seeing or hearing, and not just being the passive person sitting back, letting others bring that in.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if it's just using a skill that you've learnt as part of your leadership role, perhaps you've learnt about some listening techniques that that's the skill that you've been a little lacking in. Just start to implement them and put them in place, and your team will just start to see, we're seeing things happen here and we feel like we're being heard and listened to, which we spoke about in the last episode. So start to implement the things that you're learning too.
I think so, yeah. And we'll get to this, but this idea that when you start to do that, you make it safe to try new things as well.
Yeah. Yep.
And creating that environment where people feel they can grow.
Yes.
If you're growing is a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah, that's a good point, because we know that the data and the research is telling us that and this is Australian research, that people want to learn at work. There's a real thirst for workplace learning and workplace knowledge.
Yeah.
And if we're not modeling that in terms
Yeah.
of we're developing our skills, that shows our team that it's not only okay, but good for them to be developing their skills. And we want to be encouraging that. Fostering that workplace learning is going to be really important for businesses over the next few years, I think.
And that we value that. We value
Yes.
that on a whole lot of different levels.
Yeah, and learning isn't necessarily either just about our core role. Learning can be about other supplementary skills or things that are going to improve us more holistically. And I think the focus for so many years has been, unless this is going to have a direct ROI on our job,
Yes.
we're not going to encourage it or invest in it. And I think that approach is definitely getting outdated now.
I think so too. And I think there's so many aspects to leadership, let alone what you're trying to do with your team. But you can never, I mean, there's so much to learn. You know, we're never going to run out of things.
No. And there's so many more opportunities now. Like you don't have to go and do a uni degree to learn anymore. There's all these micro courses and so much information out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And speakers, you know, and even just things like TED Talks. You know,
yes.
Fantastic speakers out there doing
in 15 minutes, you can learn so much from a TED Talk.
Yeah. So competency. What about commitment?
Look, commitment for me is probably something that is one of my core values in terms of how I like to operate, but also the people I like to work with. And I think it's so important that you are committed to whatever it is that you've committed to. So this is something that is a little bit more, it doesn't have to be, David Horsager quotes people like Martin Luther King. Obviously that's grand and big and we can all relate to that, but it doesn't have to be that big. No. It's just standing up for what you say you're going to do and what you say you believe in.
Yes. Yeah. And having that united front with your team. That sense that we're all in this together. So if we've got to get this huge thing out, I'm going to be there working with you on Friday night till 7 o'clock or whatever we've got to do.
Yeah. Yeah, showing that complete commitment to getting it done, to the cause, I think is, and it is inspirational to people. So leaders that do this well will have a team willing to follow them anywhere. I think of an example. My grandfather was a small business owner. And at the time, manufacturing, and he was in manufacturing, was going offshore. It was very, it was in that era where everything was suddenly going offshore. And he had a real bugbear with that. And he was very committed to fighting against Australian businesses taking manufacturing offshore. And he won some very successful clients who then came to staying with Australian producers. But that was something he believed in and he stood for, and the whole team was committed to that happening. So I think just having that courage of conviction, I guess, to say, this is what we stand for and we're going to do whatever it needs.
Yes. And I think it does inspire people as well as building trust. It inspires people, that being part of something that's important and that you feel you're making a difference to. But where the person leading you is giving you strength.
Yes.
And I think that's part of that commitment, isn't it? Is that we give other people strength by being committed to something, because we're standing up and saying, I believe in this.
Yep.
I mean,
and it can
I believe in you as well,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it can be commitment to big things or commitment to small things. If you've created a deadline and you've all agreed on it, could be just commitment to that deadline. And showing your team, like you said, that you're there to get it done with them and you're part of that commitment.
Yep. And I think at a broader level, it can be things like commitment to your values. So, if we say that this is one of our values, then I am going to protect that value.
Yes.
And you will see me as a leader have tough conversations because I'm committed to holding this space and these values for the whole team.
And a commitment to demonstrating those values in all the actions that you take and all the communication that you have as well.
Yeah. I see it in rural communities and regional communities where there's a real commitment to the people that you're serving, but also the people in the team. It comes through really clearly, and I see people get around that commitment really strongly.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. I think, in fact, I had a client once who would only hire people who were from rural and regional.
Isn't that interesting?
And he said, you just get different people. And he was right. And I think it comes back to that kind of thing where they've grown up with this sense of commitment.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? And, you know, and yes, I mean, David talks about, you know, standing with people in adversity. And I think that does forge connection and trust, doesn't it? You know, because if you've been through something tough with people, and we all know, you know, at work, even if you've just managed to get something across the line against the odds, or you know, you've had to work something out to a deadline, you do feel connected. You do
solved a tough problem. Like, it doesn't have to be War and Peace style, but
exactly. But,
I think that's good.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? So character, competency, commitment.
They're the 3 C's that we've covered today. All interesting, all important. But next episode, I should say, we're going to cover connection, contribution, and consistency to bring it home on our 3-part series on trust.
I think it's fantastic. And I think it's worth saying that I don't think you need to feel overwhelmed by all these 8 and feel like you have to tick them off every day. I think pick the things that you think you need to work on at the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and have a go, really. But they are things that over time will just become embedded in the way you work as a leader. And hopefully most of them already are. But you've never really articulated how they are. So
exactly. You'll sort of listen to these 8 and you'll think, oh no, I've got that one down pat, but maybe I could do a little bit more work on this. And you can just pick the one that you think might just take your leadership to that next level.
Yes. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, Chrissy Lee. I will see you for the next episode, Connection, Contribution, Consistency.
Sounds fabulous.
See you then.